Before today's video starts, I want to mention that according to YouTube statistics, only about 23% of all the people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you end up liking today's video, please consider subscribing. After all, it's free and you can always change your mind and enjoy the video. I have a Patreon now, it's down there in the description. There are quite a few tiers, go check it out. It will help me out a lot if you decide to support me. On to the video then. Alright, hello you beautiful people, how are you all doing? So it's been a while since we've seen each other last time. Well, it wasn't that long ago, it was like a few hours ago since my last upload. But I wanted to show you a bit of a trick that I use and something that might have bothered all of you a bit, or maybe even not. The fact that I'm able to record my screen again using ffmpeg without any sort of issues whatsoever, and I improved the script to the point where it can replace pretty much any desktop recording software that I use. I have no frame drops, anything like that. It runs really fast after some improvements, and I also have audio recording from my desktop even, so I can also record my own audio right now while I'm talking, but also the audio when I'm playing some sort of a song or a bit of a video or audio in the background. So I wanted to talk about how you can set it up yourself so you can use it in your own like scripts and such. So before I start covering the script, there's some things we need to prepare in order to get everything running properly. So first off, you want to go to the first link, and you want to obviously download and unpack ffmpeg to your C drive and add it as a variable. So the way you do that, you just go to your web browser of choice, and what you do is you type in ffmpeg or ffmpeg.org. It's up to you what you want to use. And basically what you want to do here is you want to click this download button, and you want to pick your platform. So hover over Windows, go to Windows Build, and once you click that, it will send you to here. For example, you can get it and such, or you have some archives here, or you can use any of these other links over here. So go to Windows. I think I used from this guy from here, I believe it was. Yeah, I used these guys. So from BTNB ffmpeg builds, and I picked the regular GPL build. And you can pick each other one that you want. I picked the regular one. And all I did is I created a folder on my C drive. So let me show you this. So go to the C drive. I have this folder called ffmpeg, and it has all these files in it. So that's what I did. I just have need to fix that. For some reason it still doesn't work properly. So pretty much this is the folder that I have here. So you want to download ffmpeg, unzip it to your C drive, and that's pretty much the basics right now, but there's still a few more things we have to do. Gosh, that's annoying. Let me just move it up slightly. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter if I click on anything. So basically what you want to do is, once you have it downloaded, you want to set as a variable. So to do that, you can press this search key down here and type in advanced system settings. It will pop up with this that says view advanced system settings. So I click that, and here you're going to see environment variables. So click on that, and here select the path, click edit. Oh, it's not in here, sorry. When I go to system variables, go to path, click edit, scroll all the way down. I'm gonna create a new one, so click new, click browse, and browse to wherever it is. So it would go here, this PC, C drive, ffmpeg, and then you would click OK. which is what I have over here, and that's how you add it as a variable. I was originally planning on showing you it with MPV, but you don't really need that because it doesn't work with MPV on the Windows. On the Linux it does. So after doing that, you want to get a few more pieces of software. The other one being screen capture, which is appropriately named. So you want to go to this link. So you go to this link, and it takes a while to load. So you have this on-screen capture recorder video free. You want to download this, install it, and that's almost all of it, but there's a few more things you need to do. The other thing you need to do is you want to go into the other link in the description, which is umediaserver.net, and what you want to get is the direct show source filter, and you want to download this one, the 32-bit one, and let me just see, and also the screen capture direct show source filter. So I want to also get the use screen capture, this one, and that's it. So on that one link you want to grab these two files, the use screen capture one and the WebRTC direct show source filter, so this one. And once you get those, I have one of these open over here. It shows you this .msi file. You want to double click it in order to install it, and that should be all of it. So once you install both of those, you should be pretty much ready to go, but I would recommend that you reboot, but you don't have to, because the other thing you want to do is you want to go into your command line, and you want to type in the following. So once you have everything installed, let me just add that one link down there. So you want to download those two files and install those. And one of the commands you find in the description is this one. What this link will do, what this command will do, it will list all the audio and video input devices that ffmpeg will accept from your installation. And the ones you're looking for is screen capture recorder. If you want to use your microphone, it will show up as a microphone. If you're not sure which one you're using, it's actually really simple to find out. To do so, right click the speaker thing and open volume mixer. Oh, not that, sorry. So you want to right click this and you want to open sound settings. I think that's it. Oh wait, open my second monitor. So you can either use this, but that's fine. And here you want to change the output device to one of your defaults, and here your input device. So this is your input device. So you want to look for the one that matches. For me it's microphone 3-USB advanced audio, which is this one right here, microphone 3-USB advanced audio. So you can use that to view this. You can also view it through control panel. If you go to control panel, and you would go into, if you let it load, into sound, and you would see it over here under recording. You would see it over here. It's 3-USB advanced audio device, so that's the exact same thing over here. So those are two methods of which you can find this out. So that's your microphone, and you also want to look for virtual audio capture. The virtual audio capture is that piece of software that lets us capture our desktop audio. To show you proof of it, I have a music file here that I can play. You know, you can hopefully hear it. So yeah, you can hear it. You can hear me talking through it. So it works, which is really good. So that's that. So you need to have two of those, and once you have two of those written down, you will go into a bit of a more difficult step. So the more difficult step is actually setting it up so you can start your recordings. So for that I have a script. So once you have all that figured out and all that written down in a text file, we're going to make a really hard and somewhat difficult part, but don't worry, I'm going to go through all of these notes with you guys. So I can actually close all of this because I don't have to have it open anymore. So here are the two files in question. So basically this is the script that I'm currently using to record this video you're watching right now. And basically, let me explain what each and every one of these does. Oops, I just realized I have something wrong in here written in my notes. Let me fix that. So, first is the RT buff size. So what this is the buffer, and the buffer is used to basically put all the frames with all of the data that accompany each and every frame into some sort of a buffer so that it can then be transcoded into the final video file. The reason why you need to set this is that Windows is somewhat slow when it comes to outputting directly into a final file that you can use. So we need to give it a fairly large buffer in order to compensate for any problems. For example, it may cause desynchronization or even some video weirdness, which happened during one of my test recordings, so I had to essentially buff up the buffer that I was using in order to circumvent those problems, and it seems to be working just fine now just by increasing this buffer. Essentially what it does, it puts each and every frame that hasn't been processed yet into that buffer so it doesn't have to wait, you know, for your slow drive in order to process those frames, and puts them then directly into those files. Into that file, sorry. Next we have these dshow-s-e and stuff. So let me explain. What this is, this sets a format. The format is dshow, which is like direct show, and this -s sets a size. This -s is applicable only for video inputs, which is the next section. So the -s defines the resolution. Here you have it put in the resolution of your native monitor. If you're not sure which resolution you have, you can right click your desktop, go to display settings. It's going to open up with the regular settings window, and I'll scroll down and you would see your, oops, you want to pick your native monitor if you have two like I have, and here you would see display resolution, and that's what you want to type in. For me it's 1680 by 1050 because I have a 16 by 10 monitor, so that's what I'm using. So change that according to you, what you're using. The -e is the input from which you want to take this. So the -e video thing is the same, and here is where the screen capture recorder thing comes into play. So that's the one piece of software. It pretty much, if it's called like this, it will only start at that time. Otherwise it's not running in the background, it's not doing anything, it's waiting for you to trigger it in order to run it. So you don't have to worry about those two programs we just installed, that they would be constantly using your CPU, RAM or memory. They will only load into memory or be executed, if you will, only if you call them using a application that uses them as a source of a input. In my case, I use them to record my screen right now. Then we have this dshow. This basically defines another format, and the format is dshow, which is like direct show, and direct show pretty much lets you pick any audio or video device and use them as a input for your final video file. So the other part is audio. Now here we'll be using the audio section up to this point, so we'll be using this one twice, because we want to be able to record the video, the audio from our desktop and from our microphone at the same time. So here, this virtual audio capture, which you should have seen using this command right here, is what pretty much processes our desktop's audio, which is what enabled you to listen to that part of the song that I played a few minutes ago. or seconds, depends on how I edit this one. So this is what enables us to record our desktop audio. Well, not necessarily, but it's a key component. Then we have the dshow-e audio again, but this time it's our microphone. The reason why we want our microphone is obvious. We want to be able to capture your voice in order for people to hear what you're explaining and what is, like, you know, your idea, what you're trying to say. If you do not put this in, again, you have to change this one. This is the one you will change according to your microphone. My microphone happens to be labeled as this, so you have to change it to your default microphone device. I showed you how you can see that and how you can define it based on yourself, so change this according to your setup. This is what works for my setup, that's what I'm using. But that's all fine and dandy, but what will happen is it won't put all those inputs together. What we need to do is we need to put both of these audio inputs into one as a single audio stream. So essentially what you need to realize is that videos are just streams of frames and audio. And audio streams are essentially just one stream. Well, most of the time, there are some exceptions, but most of the time you're dealing with one video stream and one audio stream. So what you want to do is you want to put those two together. The simplest way I managed to find on the internet, because this wasn't my solution, this is some other guy's solution on the internet. It just so happens to work with my setup. So this filter complex, what this does is it's pretty much puts both audio inputs into one single audio stream, which you can tell because we're using the first audio input and the second audio input. So it takes only the audio. The Amex input is what puts them together, and we tell them which ones to put together. So we want to take two inputs and we want to set the duration to shortest, because if you don't do this, the audio will be desynchronized. Now there will be still some desynchronization problems with this. It won't be perfect, but it's good enough for my setup, so that's what I'm using. You may want to toy around with this a little bit. There are a ton of sources on the internet. The internet is your best friend with this. Next I have this VF scale. This is what I use to upscale my videos to 1080p. Since my monitor isn't a 1080p monitor, I have to upscale it. So that's what I use to upscale it. I could change this to 1440p or 4K if I wanted to, but if I try to edit this in 4K, my computer will pretty much burn down to ashes. Then we have this -G. The -G is one part that defines our frames per second. I have two more that I defined that pretty much force a constant FPS. I'm recording all these videos in 30 frames per second. This is just one part of it. Then we have this -BV2M. This defines our bandwidth. Now, this bandwidth may or may not have been capped as you set it, because in my case it always goes above, but this ensures that the bandwidth is consistent. So you may want to change this according to your setup, because the higher you set it, the more bandwidth it will use. In my case, even though I'm using this variable here, or this flag, it still is using around, let me say, at around 6 megabits per second. So again, it's up to your setup. You can toy around with this, but I find that using 2 megabits per second like this is just fine. Next we have some audio settings here. So this one will pretty much set it that the audio has pretty much no latency if it's being recorded from your microphone or from your desktop. So this will pretty much reduce the latency as far as it can manage based on your setup. So this is heavily dependent on how your setup is configured and how fast your hardware is. Next we have -keymin30. This is the second part which defines what your FPS or your frame rate should be. Again, it's another place where you have to change it. So this one pretty much defines, hey, I want to record at 30 FPS. This sets it as a minimum. This will pretty much force it to stay at 30 FPS no matter what. So it will constantly spit out 30 FPS. Next is some general compression in terms of audio. So this one is a conversion of audio to AAC. Self-explanatory. Conversion of video with the H.264 codec. Then we have a preset. We set the preset to ultra fast because we don't want to hang our CPU up with unimportant things like recording a video. We want to make it as fast as possible so we don't waste any time with this recording. Then I have pixel format. This generally depends on your use case. For me, UV444p works fine. You may want to change this. You can look up the documentation for ffmpeg on the internet for the pixel format flag. You can change this according to what you need to use or want to use. In my case, this works just fine. Next we have CFR25. CFR25 defines the quality of the video itself. This is used for compression, because if you set this to 0, your files will become absurdly large. The first time I did this, I used it at 0. The quality was really crisp, but it cost me a lot of storage space. So by setting it to 25, we managed to reduce the file sizes to something that's a lot more comparable, and it's still at a pretty decent quality. Next we have this AC. Why is it at 1? It should be at 2. Well, anyway, so AC2 pretty much sets audio channels, so I'm using just one channel apparently, but again, it doesn't matter. I usually use AC2 because it works fine for me. But again, you want to change this based on your setup. Usually you want AC2 when it comes to recording the audio or setting compression and such, because you don't want to lose any sort of audio quality. In my case, it doesn't make a difference, but in some setups it may, so you may want to change this according to your setup. Next we have AR. This is the rate at which the audio will be. This pretty much sets the rate of the audio. I set it to 44 kilohertz because it's something that I've seen a lot of people use. You can definitely use 48 kilohertz or just 40 or whatever your audio can handle. Generally, you should be able to find this within, I think it was under control panel again and audio. So let's just have a look just to show where you can find this information. So when I go to control panel and sound again, when I pick one of your devices, right click, go to properties, go to, I think it was advanced, yeah, go to advanced, and here look at what your audio can handle. In my case, I'm using this one, which is 44,100 hertz, which is studio quality apparently. So yeah, if you look over here, it's also here the same rate, but that's what I have set it to. So I have it set to a much higher one, obviously, because my computer can handle it, but I generally use this for recording because it's good enough, believe it or not. So that's how you can determine this. Again, you may want to change this also based on your microphone recording, but in my case it doesn't make much of a difference. You may want to change this according to your setup. Then there is this final part, this async 30. What this does, this forces it to synchronize all the frames at 30 frames per second. I may have said it a bit differently, so let me rephrase that. This pretty much assures that all the audio and video sections of your recording will be synced at the frame rate you set based on the last two parameters that we mentioned previously. This -G30 and this keyIntMin 30 define the frame rate. So you see 30 here, you see 30 here, you obviously have to put 30 here. You can try and record at 60, but this is highly dependent on what your computer can handle. In my case, 30 FPS works more than enough, so that's what I am using. And then we have this dvideos final no edit. So this is what I use to save those video files. I may make a update to this script so it uses the date just like I had it on Linux, because it makes saving the footage much easier, and it makes it much faster for me to store the footage because I don't have to rename it all the freaking time. So you can expect a bit of a update video on this script, but this is pretty much most of it that I set it to. This RT buffer size, I did mention that it saves and stores our frames, but why this large of a buffer? The thing is, I gave it a 500 megabyte buffer, almost 500. This is the exact number that it's using. The reason for that is it will otherwise spit out errors that it cannot save those frames apparently. Before I was able to even record my desktop audio, around 400 megabits was fine, but I had to increase it. Again, this will be highly dependent on your setup, but in my case, a 500 megabit buffer works more than enough. I get no errors whatsoever. The only thing that it shows me from time to time is that I have duplicate frames, which I can show you. You can see it over here. It shows me I have duplicate frames, but it doesn't matter because, you know, it still will record them just fine. So yeah, that's the entire script that I'm using. I hope you guys found something interesting in this. I figured I may want to show you all of this so you guys, you know, can start making more videos if you aren't able to use OBS as I am. Because if I use OBS, my frame rate drops to like 5 FPS. Don't know why that is. So that's my screen recording script for Windows. I will make a Git repository with this script down there in the description. And with that, I want to thank all of you for joining me today. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I hope to see all of you beautiful people next time.